It was a blistering summer morning in 1963, and the small town of Briarwood, Texas, was buzzing with its usual slow, lazy rhythm. The sun blazed over dusty streets, and cicadas droned in the trees lining the sidewalks. Twin sisters, Emily and Claire Thompson, had just finished breakfast and were preparing for a quick walk to the local market, barely a mile away. They were inseparable, identical in appearance but with distinct personalities. Emily, the more cautious and thoughtful twin, and Claire, adventurous and daring. Nobody could have guessed that this short, routine walk would be the last time anyone in town would see them. Their mother, Helen, watched them leave through the cracked kitchen window, feeling a twinge of unease she couldn't explain. The twins waved cheerfully, skipping down the dusty road, unaware that shadowy figures might already be watching from the edges of the woods nearby. Briarwood was a tight-knit town where everyone knew each other, and nothing like this had ever happened before. A sense of normalcy hung in the air, yet an invisible tension seemed to linger, almost like the wind itself was holding its breath. As the hours ticked by, the twins didn't return. Their father, Samuel, grew anxious and began checking the streets, calling out their names. Neighbors, at first thinking it was a harmless delay, started peeking out their windows. By mid-afternoon, worry rippled through the town. Whispers began spreading. Some claimed they had seen the girls near the railway tracks on the outskirts. Others said a strange car had been parked near the woods. The fear that something terrible had happened began to creep into every home. Sheriff Jenkins was called to investigate, and the normally calm town square buzzed with urgency. He questioned neighbors, shopkeepers, and anyone who might have seen the girls. People recalled seeing the twins talking to an unfamiliar man near the edge of town the day before, someone none of them could identify. Every answer seemed to lead to more questions. The sheriff's notes would later reveal his growing concern. In a town like Briarwood, for two girls to vanish without a trace was unprecedented. As dusk fell, panic began to mount. The streets emptied, and the heat of the day gave way to an eerie, heavy stillness. The woods near the railway tracks seemed darker, more menacing than usual, and shadows played tricks on the townspeople's eyes. Search parties formed, families grabbed flashlights, and dogs were let loose, sniffing for any trace of Emily and Claire. Yet, despite the frantic efforts, the twins were nowhere to be found. That first night marked the beginning of a mystery that would haunt Briarwood for decades, a disappearance so sudden and inexplicable that the entire town felt as if it had collectively stepped into a nightmare. Sheriff Jenkins knew from the moment he arrived at the Thompson residence that this case was unlike anything Briarwood had ever faced. A man in his late 50s with decades of law enforcement experience, he had seen disappearances before, but never twins vanishing in broad daylight, in a town where everyone thought they knew everyone else. The sheriff's first step was to canvass the town, questioning neighbors, classmates, and even strangers who might have been passing through. Each interview added more pieces to the puzzle. Yet instead of clarifying the mystery, the answers only made the situation murkier. From the very beginning, something felt off. A few neighbors mentioned seeing the twins talking to someone outside their usual circles, an unfamiliar man whose car they couldn't describe in detail. Some claimed he lingered near the railway tracks. Others said he had been near the woods where the shadows seemed unnaturally thick. But every lead seemed frustratingly thin, a whisper in the wind that refused to take shape. Sheriff Jenkins documented every word meticulously in his case files, his voice tense on the tapes he secretly recorded, noting how each small observation hinted at something bigger and far more sinister. Then came the discovery that would turn the investigation on its head. A series of letters the twins had received over the past month. At first glance, they seemed harmless, handwritten notes tucked into their mailboxes, but reading them revealed something deeply unsettling. The letters referenced hidden truths about their family, secrets that the girls were warned to uncover at their own peril. Whoever wrote them seemed to know intimate details about the sisters' lives, predicting their routines and even hinting at the day they would disappear. Sheriff Jenkins noted in one recording that the letters suggested a danger that lurked close to home, someone, or something, who had been carefully watching the girls. As days turned into weeks, the sheriff expanded the search beyond the immediate town. Teams combed the surrounding woods, the old railway lines, and even abandoned barns where townsfolk claimed to have seen strange activity. Witnesses reported glimpses of shadows moving just out of sight, strange sounds echoing through the trees, and fleeting figures disappearing before anyone could approach. Every search party returned empty-handed, leaving behind a sense of dread that hung over Briarwood like a storm cloud refusing to break. The sheriff often stayed late into the night, reviewing his notes and listening to the secret tapes he kept of witness statements, muttering under his breath about how this case didn't follow any natural pattern. Even as frustration mounted, Jenkins refused to give up. He believed that the twins' disappearance was no random act. It was deliberate, calculated. Every clue, no matter how small, was carefully catalogued, and each lead, though often dead-ending, was treated with painstaking seriousness. The sheriff's recordings reveal a man on edge, aware that the town was watching him, but even more aware that something malevolent was at play. The deeper he dug, the more he realized that Emily and Claire had stumbled upon a secret someone powerful wanted buried, and that uncovering it could be far more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. Weeks into the investigation, just as hope began to fade, a local hiker stumbled upon a discovery that would shake the town to its core. Hidden near the old railway bridge on the outskirts of Briarwood were two worn-out backpacks. At first glance, they seemed abandoned, discarded by some careless traveler, but a closer look revealed something far more chilling. One bag contained Emily's favorite scarf, frayed and dusty, while the other held Claire's cherished sketchbook, its pages smeared with dirt as if someone had dragged it across the ground. The hiker immediately alerted Sheriff Jenkins, who arrived with his deputies to examine the site, his instincts telling him that this was far more than a coincidence. The sheriff's recorded tapes reveal the tension of that day in vivid detail. He described the bags as ominous markers, items left intentionally, almost as if someone wanted the town to find them. Yet there was no trace of the twins themselves. The ground surrounding the bridge bore strange footprints, some of human size, others impossibly large, as if a figure not entirely human had passed through. There were also smears of something dark along the stones of the bridge, too faded to identify but alarming enough to make the hair on the back of Jenkins' neck stand up. Every clue seemed to point to a deliberate act, a sinister game played by an unknown force. Rumors quickly spread through Briarwood, intensifying the town's growing unease. Some whispered that the twins had been lured to the bridge, while others claimed the area was cursed, a place where shadows moved with a life of their own. Locals recalled seeing a flicker of movement along the bridge the day the girls vanished, and even though nobody could explain it, everyone agreed that the area held a strange, oppressive energy. Jenkins' tapes capture the fear and disbelief in his voice as he recounts conversations with witnesses who spoke of fleeting silhouettes, whispers in the wind, and the unsettling sensation of being watched. Adding to the mystery, the hiker reported seeing a small, weathered notebook near the backpacks. Its pages were filled with cryptic symbols and strange phrases, some of which referenced the Watchers and the hidden path. Sheriff Jenkins immediately confiscated the notebook, hoping it might provide a clue to the girl's fate. Yet the more he examined it, the more it seemed to deepen the enigma. Who had left it there, and why? Was it meant as a warning or a taunt? The sense of foreboding grew stronger with every passing day, and Jenkins noted in one tape how the town's fear was now tangible, almost like a heavy fog that refused to lift. By the end of that week, the strange discoveries had become the talk of every household in Briarwood. People avoided the bridge, and even teenagers who once played near the railway tracks now dared not venture there after dusk. Sheriff Jenkins continued his investigation, reviewing his tapes over and over, hoping to find connections between the footprints, the backpacks, and the cryptic notebook. Every detail, no matter how minor, seemed to carry a sinister weight. The town's collective anxiety escalated, and a haunting question lingered in every mind. If the twins weren't at the bridge, then where had they gone, and who, or what, had left these clues to be found? Years after the disappearance, long after Briarwood had settled into an uneasy silence, a startling discovery was made. Sheriff Harold Jenkins' personal tapes, recordings he had kept hidden for decades, were found in an old storage locker. These tapes weren't ordinary case notes. They were raw, intimate confessions, moments captured when the sheriff was alone, wrestling with the horror of the twins' vanishing. On them, Jenkins' voice trembled as he recounted every interview, every lead, every clue that had emerged, some of which had never been shared publicly. The town hadn't realized it, but these tapes contained secrets that could unravel the entire mystery, secrets that some might have preferred remained buried. The first tape revealed a witness account that sent chills through anyone who listened. A local farmer had stumbled upon the twins near the edge of the woods late one evening, only to see a shadowy figure dragging two silhouettes into the darkness. The description was vague, the fear palpable, but the sheriff's commentary made it even more chilling. He paused the recording, whispering to himself, "Who would do this, and why?" His voice carried the weight of a man who knew he was chasing something far beyond the ordinary. a force or person capable of preying on two young girls without leaving a trace. Other tapes revealed correspondence Jenkins had secretly recorded with townsfolk too frightened to speak openly. One elderly woman, her hands shaking, claimed the twins had been warned to stay away from certain families, hints of corruption and secrecy woven through generations. Another tape detailed conversations with schoolmates, some of whom had seen the twins receive mysterious letters and disappear after reading them. The sheriff's voice occasionally faltered as he pieced the stories together, each recording layering a sense of dread over the previous. Listening to these tapes was like following a breadcrumb trail into a darkness no one in Briarwood could have imagined. The tapes also revealed Jenkins' own fears and suspicions, the private thoughts of a man trapped between duty and terror. He speculated that Emily and Claire had stumbled upon a secret operation, one that involved people powerful enough to manipulate events around them without leaving evidence. Some tapes contained cryptic remarks about hidden tunnels, rituals, and things the town has forgotten. His voice, sometimes barely audible over the hum of old tape machinery, conveyed a mixture of disbelief and horror, as if each new piece of information only confirmed his deepest fear, that the twins' disappearance was not random, but part of something much larger, something dangerous and untraceable. Even decades later, the tapes had the power to unsettle anyone who listened. Jenkins' meticulous recordings captured every detail: the fear in witnesses' voices, the strange movements near the woods, the unidentifiable symbols etched on walls and objects around town. For those who eventually heard them, the recordings transformed the case from a tragic mystery into a terrifying story of shadows, secrets, and unseen forces that had shaped the twins' fate. Every whispered confession, every pause, every note of doubt on the sheriff's part seemed to hint at truths that were deliberately kept in darkness, truths that would haunt Briarwood for generations to come. 7 years after the disappearance, in 1970, the sleepy town of Briarwood was jolted awake by an unexpected revelation. A retired railroad worker named Tom Whitaker came forward, claiming he had witnessed something on the night the twins vanished. He described wandering along the old railway bridge, drawn by a strange noise he couldn't explain, when he saw a man, tall, imposing, and strangely deliberate, forcing two figures into the shadows near the tracks. The description of the figures matched Emily and Claire. Tom's voice, even decades later, still shook as he recounted every detail, painting a terrifying scene that seemed to confirm the town's worst fears. Sheriff Jenkins' tapes captured the moment he heard the revelation. His voice was tense, almost disbelieving, as he recorded himself saying, "If Whitaker is telling the truth, the girls didn't just vanish. They were taken. And whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing." The witness went on to describe the figures being led toward an entrance hidden behind overgrown weeds, a tunnel barely visible to the casual observer. The tunnel, Tom explained, extended for miles beneath Briarwood, a relic from Prohibition times that had long been abandoned and forgotten. Suddenly, what had seemed like a simple disappearance was revealed to be part of a sinister hidden world lurking beneath the town's surface. The revelation sent shockwaves through the investigation. Sheriff Jenkins, who had long suspected the tunnels but never had confirmation, now realized the scope of what he was dealing with. The tapes capture him pacing late into the night, muttering about the danger the girls may have faced underground. He described the tunnels as a maze of narrow corridors and hidden chambers, places where someone could vanish without a trace. Every shadow, every creak of the old wooden beams, seemed fraught with danger in his mind. The thought that Emily and Claire might have been taken into such a labyrinth filled the sheriff with dread, yet also renewed his determination to find answers, even if the trail had grown cold over the years. Even more unsettling were the whispers surrounding the tunnels. Locals recalled hearing rumors of strange rituals and odd activities carried out in the tunnels decades earlier, long before the girls disappeared. The combination of these rumors and Whitaker's first-hand accounts suggested that the tunnels were more than a simple hiding place. They were a sinister playground for someone or something powerful, someone capable of hiding their tracks completely. Sheriff Jenkins' tapes detail his private fears, the gnawing worry that the twins had stumbled upon something they weren't meant to see, something that someone had gone to great lengths to protect. The town, largely unaware of the full extent of these tunnels, had been unknowingly harboring a dark secret under its feet. The lead, as shocking as it was, also brought a new urgency to the investigation. Sheriff Jenkins meticulously mapped the area, planning to explore the tunnels despite the inherent risks. He noted the evidence, the worn backpacks, cryptic notes, and eyewitness accounts, now made more terrifying by the possibility of hidden chambers and unseen dangers below. For the first time, the investigation had a tangible path, a physical place to search. But even as hope flickered, there was an undeniable sense of foreboding. The tunnels promised answers, yes, but they also promised danger, and the sheriff's own voice in the tapes betrays the anxiety that whatever lay beneath could be far more horrifying than anyone in Briarwood could imagine. By the early 1980s, decades after Emily and Claire had vanished, the abandoned tunnels beneath Briarwood finally became the focus of a serious investigation. Forensic teams, guided by old maps and Sheriff Jenkins' meticulous notes, ventured into the twisting corridors that had long been hidden beneath the town. The tunnels were damp and narrow, with the air heavy and stale, smelling of earth and decay. Every step echoed ominously against the stone walls, and shadows seemed to stretch and twist unnaturally in the flickering lights of the search team's torches. The townspeople had avoided these tunnels for years, claiming they felt wrong. But nothing could have prepared the investigators for what they were about to uncover. Inside the maze of underground passageways, the teams found remnants of the twins' personal belongings, scraps of clothing, a tattered sketchbook, and faint traces of their favorite trinkets. Some items were arranged deliberately, as if someone, or something, wanted them to be found, creating an eerie and almost ritualistic scene. Walls were scrawled with cryptic symbols and markings that no one could fully interpret, some resembling twisted shapes or coded messages. The deeper the teams went, the stronger the sense of malevolence became, as if the tunnels themselves were imbued with the fear and tragedy of the vanished sisters. Sheriff Jenkins' voice in his long-hidden tapes recounts his disbelief and terror, whispering that the tunnels seemed alive, watching, and waiting. Investigators also uncovered evidence that suggested the tunnels had been used for purposes far darker than simple hiding. Small chambers contained remnants of old fires, charred objects, and makeshift living areas, hinting that someone had dwelled there, or that the tunnels had been used for secretive rituals. Nothing conclusive explained what had happened to Emily and Claire, but the presence of these chambers suggested a sinister intent behind their disappearance. The sheriff's tapes reveal him muttering about the danger of stumbling upon forces in the shadows, and speculating that the twins had likely encountered something that terrified even adults. The fear captured in his recordings is palpable, as if he knew that every step in those tunnels brought him closer to a truth too dark for ordinary comprehension. What made the discovery even more chilling was the lack of human remains. Despite finding personal belongings and evidence of habitation, there was no trace of Emily or Claire themselves. This absence only deepened the mystery and hinted at a fate far beyond what the town could imagine. Sheriff Jenkins' recordings reveal his growing unease, noting that the tunnels seemed designed to conceal rather than destroy, almost as if the girls had been taken somewhere else, yet traces of their presence were left behind to torment those who sought them. Every item, every symbol, every echo in the corridors suggested a calculated, deliberate design meant to mislead, frighten, and confuse. The terrifying discovery transformed Briarwood forever. Once a quiet, sleepy town, it now lived under a shadow of fear and speculation. Sheriff Jenkins' secret tapes captured not only the physical evidence found in the tunnels but also the emotional weight of realizing that the girls' fate was intertwined with forces beyond ordinary understanding. Locals whispered about the tunnels, warning that anyone who entered too deeply risked becoming part of the darkness themselves. As the investigation continued, each piece of evidence seemed to point to a horrifying reality. The tunnels were more than a hiding place. They were a labyrinth of secrets and malevolence, and the mystery of Emily and Claire's disappearance had only grown deeper, darker, and more terrifying. In 1993, 3 decades after Emily and Claire vanished, the final piece of the puzzle emerged in the form of one last tape, recorded by Sheriff Harold Jenkins himself. By then, he was older, frail, and haunted by the decades he had spent chasing shadows. On this tape, his voice is almost a whisper, trembling as he recounts what he had discovered about the twins' fate. He revealed that Emily and Claire had inadvertently uncovered a secret so dangerous, it threatened powerful people in Briarwood. People who had the influence and means to erase evidence, manipulate witnesses, and silence anyone who got too close. The twins' disappearance, he concluded, was no random act. It had been orchestrated to protect that secret at all costs. Jenkins explained that the girls had been kidnapped, taken far from the town to prevent them from exposing what they had seen. The tunnels beneath Briarwood, while terrifying, were merely the starting point of a trail that led to hidden locations beyond the town's borders. Through witness statements and painstaking investigation, he pieced together the movements of those involved, revealing a chilling network of deception that had gone unnoticed for decades. According to the sheriff, Emily and Claire had survived for a time after their abduction, moved through secret routes, and were kept under careful watch by individuals who wanted them completely removed from public view. The revelation made the case far darker than anyone had imagined. The tapes also hinted at the psychological torment the girls had endured. Jenkins spoke about the letters, the threats, and the constant fear they must have felt while being held captive. He speculated that the abductors had deliberately left traces, backpacks, clothing, symbols in the tunnels, to confuse the town and investigators, making it seem as if the girls had vanished into thin air. Every step of the investigation, every mysterious clue, had been manipulated, turning the disappearance into a terrifying maze of deception. The sheriff's voice faltered as he admitted that even he had been fooled for decades, realizing only too late that he had been chasing shadows while the true orchestrators had remained steps ahead. What made the truth even more horrifying was the implication that Briarwood itself had been part of the secret. People in positions of trust, neighbors, business owners, even some officials, had been coerced or complicit in keeping the twins' existence hidden. The tapes revealed Jenkins' growing anger and despair, as he described the lengths people went to maintain the illusion of normalcy while covering up a crime that shook the very foundation of the town. The sheriff's confessions painted a picture of a town that, on the surface, appeared peaceful, but underneath, had harbored a terrifying secret that few would ever understand. Finally, Jenkins left the most haunting words for those who would eventually hear the tapes. He warned that some truths are too dangerous to uncover, and that the twins' disappearance was a stark reminder of how fragile safety and innocence can be. Emily and Claire had stumbled onto something beyond their understanding, something that the most powerful in Briarwood wanted buried forever. While their ultimate fate remained partially unknown, the tapes revealed that the sisters' story was far from ordinary, a story of survival, secrecy, and a darkness that lingered long after the town had tried to forget. The sheriff's trembling voice ended the recording with a chilling remark. The disappearance had left scars on Briarwood that would never fully heal, and some mysteries, he warned, may never truly be solved. As the years passed, Briarwood returned to its quiet routines. But the shadows of that summer in 1963 never truly lifted. Emily and Claire Thompson may have vanished, their ultimate fate known only to those who orchestrated their disappearance, yet their story lingers, a whisper in the wind, a shadow near the woods, a mystery that refuses to be forgotten. Sheriff Jenkins' tapes, now uncovered, remind us that some secrets are buried too deep, and some disappearances are never fully solved. And so, the question remains, what really happened to the twins? Were they ever truly safe, or do the tunnels, the shadows, and the hidden paths still hold the answers, waiting for the next curious soul to uncover them? The truth may be out there, just beyond the edge of sight, watching, waiting, and perhaps, some mysteries are meant to haunt us forever.
If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Most importantly, subscribe and hit the bell icon so the next secret finds you first.